Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be having a look at how to create a basic PHP form, and later on, this might go into a second video, I'll be showing you how to get it working. Here's an example of one I created for a website. This is, hodaggames.com/contactphp. So right here you can see I can input data, so I can go like Vicky, my email at email.com and hello. So here's I'm not going to send this, because this is actually a live one, so I'm not going to send this one, but here I can clear the form. That button works, that one I can test. I'm not going to send anything on, so yeah, so let's get started. So if we go into Dreamweaver, here you can see the sleek red, which was featured in a previous tutorial. I am using Adobe Dreamweaver CS5, but hopefully there won't be that much difference in CS6. So first of all, I've got my contact. So I'm going to put a nice little text underneath. Please fill out. Oop, helps I can spell. Please fill out the There we go. Oh. There we go. So you may wonder, why did I put that in there? That's going to be my anchor of the code, because later on I'm going to be showing you how to edit the code to get the whole thing working, and having this builds a nice little anchor point in the code, and it really helps. Something that we can identify with. So next thing I'm going to do a nice little space down and do another one. Actually, I'll do a single one there. And what we are going to do, we're going to insert many elements. Now I've just got to get my little insertion window on the side. Let's see, here we go, insert. Just going to close up, so we don't need styles at the moment, we don't need files. All we need is the insert tab here, and this is very similar with CS6. So we don't need com at the moment. I want to drop down to forms. So there we go, forms, and here we have all the key form elements. There's even sprite validation text area. The difference between a normal text area is that this one just normal text, the other one will check that the value is correct, but that's quite a complicated thing, and I'm not going to go into that too much today. So in my contact form, before you do anything, you need to create the form area to state where everything's going to happen. So I'm going to click on form here. And we've got this. In CS6 you're going to get a pop-up window asking for names and things like that, which I'm going to give out now. So what this is asking is for an action. Make sure that your method is set to post. You've got default, get, and post. The way PHP works, which I'm going to explain in a bit more detail, is that it gets and sends information backwards and forwards. Well, we want to post the information the user is going to put onto this contact form into an email. So I'm going to make sure post is set on there, make sure it's on yours. I like to give this an ID, so I'm just going to call this contact. And in terms of action, the action is going to be what it actually does. For now, I'm just going to put in contact.php. I'll explain this more later on. We are going to create a PHP file, and it is going to call up this code. It's going to be actually embedded into this web page, so you don't have to worry about having separate pages. You could do that if you prefer, but personally I always prefer this, and I'll leave it as content. That's really all you need. So I'm quite happy with that. I could double check on this by going to split and having a look at my code on here. So ID contact, yes. Name contact. Don't really need, actually don't need an ID, but I'll leave it there. Method post, yep. Action contact PHP, yep. It's all in there. That's what I need. So I can read and check that it's right. Back to design. So the next thing I've got to do is add in the elements. So I'm going to click on text field because we want an area for people to put in firstly the name, email, and then a larger area for their contact very much. I'm going to follow this exact same design I used in this one in terms of a contact form. So, text field, and I'm going to leave the ID because you can put an ID in, but I prefer not to. Actually, yes, I'll put an ID in for this exercise. You know, good grace in that. So I'm going to put in name. The ID is for the code to recognize what it is. The label is different. The label is what we see. So I'm going to put in name with capital, colon, what is it? Colon there. And we don't need anything else. And make sure it's before the item. That's the label. So I'm going to go OK. And here we've got text. This is normal HTML text. And here's the actual contact thing. And nothing I tend to do is create a nice little space. I'm going to press Shift and Enter to move that down. I'm actually going to move this down a bit, so got a nice bit of space there. Wish I could add a bit more padding to this. I might do that a bit later on, but for now this is fine. So there we go. I might want to change this around a bit. So we'll look at the text field. It's name, character width. I want to make this a lot bigger, so I'm going to set it to 60. So, and the max length to 80, so anyone with really long names could put their full name in there. And the initial value, at this very moment in time, I'm just going to set it to val. So later on, we're going to change the value. We're going to put some PHP code into that. That's going to be in the second half of this. And that's all you need to do for this. So there you go, and it's got val in there, ready for me to use. And now what you've got to do next is I'll just press enter and this is automatically aligning itself up. That's quite handy actually. So there you go. What I want to do next is do the same thing again, but this time for email. So I'm going to click on text field, ID, email, and of course I just put in the full name, email address. Come on. Yep, quite happy with that, so go OK. And just like I did before, I'm just going to put my cursor here and press Shift and Enter, so it just puts it on a new line, makes it all nice and neat. The reason I do this is that you may notice that email address is longer than name, so we're going to have different lengths, and I like to keep it in a nice square sort of lineup. And again, same thing with this, change the value to character width to 60, and max characters, I'm actually going to say 100, just for anyone who's got a really long email. And here I'm going to put in, text field's email and value. Another thing you'll notice as well, we've got type, leave it a single line. We've got multi-line, which is what we're going to do in a moment, and we've got passwords. So if you want to put in passwords, if you click on that, it will do the whole star characters instead of type. But we're not going to have any passwords. That is a whole new level of PHP, which is beyond me, to be quite frank. But for basic contact pages, this I can do. So there we go. One more thing, I'm going to pop in the next. We've got this time, instead of a text field, I'm going to have a text area. So I click on this, very much the same, so I'm just going to do, is it comments, and then following we're going to have, forgot the capital. There we go. And you see we have a larger area which has a little scroller there, and just like I did before, Shift Enter to put it directly underneath. And with this little area, I'm going to say the character width. Actually, I'm going to set this to 50. You may wonder why I'm not putting it to the full length. It's because sometimes it doesn't quite fit the area. You can make it big or small. This one, you can make it larger. Yeah, you can make this one larger. Didn't realize that, but there you go. Gonna leave that 50 and lines 5. That's fine. Initial value. This one doesn't need a value this time, so we're going to leave that empty as it is, and that's comments. That's absolutely fine. So one more thing we've got to do, if we look on the example here, we need 2 buttons to clear the form and to send the email. So I'm going to do that now. Just press enter again. I do like pressing enter to have a nice space. It's very simple to create a button for your contact form. If you go in the insert section here, we scroll down to button. It's right there. If I click on it, it's asking for ID and label. We do not really need the label this time, because the labels are these sections that sit on the outside, but we want the name to be actually within the button. So I'm going to leave label as it is, and actually I'm going to leave the ID. I'm just going to click OK this time. And you can see here we've already got submit. So we've got button name. I'm actually going to call this reset. Oh, actually clear. And the value is not going to be submit. It's actually going to give it to make it clear the form. So just check my notes. Clear form. And then we've got action, submit form or reset. I'm going to check reset. And there you go, that's the clear form button. That should actually work. And I'm going to put my cursor right next to it, no spaces, because I want the next button to be right next to it. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Button, button, OK. And this is going to be send. And value, I'm going to change that to send email. Leave it as submit form. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So I'm going to make sure to save this. File, save. And you'll notice here that I've done it contact.html. I'm going to explain that a bit later on, why I'm going to change that in the second half, but let's just finish this bit first. Just going to preview this. So there we go, there's my contact form, so I can change that to Vicky. Email at something.com. Comment, hello. And I can say to clear the form or to send it. Setting, well no, there's nowhere to send it to, because it can't find contact PHP. So technically that is working. It is calling up the action, just that it hasn't found it, so that's pretty good. I go back, there we go, I clear the form, and it goes back to the way it was. So yeah, that all works.